Yeah, hello everybody. Nice to meet you here in the Kastu International webinar. And my name is Karolis, and this is my colleague Nelis. And today we will give a webinar about University of West England. And now you will see University of West England representative Lorraine. Yeah, Lorraine, say hi.
Hello, hi.
And can you just give few sentences of your introduction?
Okay, so my name's Lorraine. I am the Regional Manager for Europe here at UWE, or University of the West of England in Bristol. And it's the first time we've done one of these web chats, so we're keeping our fingers crossed that the technology is going to work for us. And what I'd like to do is to introduce the university to you and to talk specifically about postgraduate study, and then hopefully answer any questions that you all have, both for students from, so it's hello to everyone in Lithuania and hello to everyone in Poland, and yeah, looking forward to talking to you about the university and studies and answering any questions that you may have.
Yes, so the structure of webinar will be pretty simple. First, we will show a presentation of University of West England, and Lorraine will present it, and later on you will be able, not later on, but during the whole webinar you will be able to ask questions. You should write them, and in the end of webinar we will answer your questions. So Nelis will tell you how you should ask questions if you have them.
Right, so hello for everyone from my side as well. So just a few sentences about this webinar platform that we are using for translation, for streaming. So what you can do in this platform, on the left side of the screen, you can see there are several icons. So if you press on the icon question mark, you will be able to send us a question for university representative, and we will read those questions loud, and university representative will gonna answer those questions at the end of the webinar. And as well, you can use the chat option just to say hi for everyone. And if you have any questions, or maybe you cannot find the option to send questions by clicking question mark icon, you can also use chat option to give your questions, and we also will cover all those questions at the end of the webinar. So that's it from my side. And I believe we can go through the slides, and I'm giving a word for Lorraine.
Okay, so hopefully everyone can nearly see my slides. There we go. Here we go. So here's the first page. So this is a presentation that was written with our career service that's talking about the things you need to think about when you're applying for postgraduate study, and then later on we'll talk about specific courses. So next slide, please. So what I'd like to cover in this presentation is looking at the key factors which will help you decide whether postgraduate study is really what you're looking for. Think about how you're going to choose that course. We're going to talk about how you can apply for courses, and also look at the personal statements. You may well have had to write a personal statement for your undergraduate course. Obviously, there are going to be similarities, but we will, look at the specifics of personal statements for postgraduate applications. So first of all, let's have a look at what is postgraduate study. So there's several different varieties which we offer at the University of the West of England. Now, postgraduate study can be taught, so you could be in a classroom. You can do a master's, which is by research. So this is where you may have some teaching, but a lot of what you'll be doing is very specific to you, and it is you doing the actual research. Moving on from a master's program, you may also want to consider something like a PhD, a doctorate. So, sorry, if we could go back to that slide again. And then within those, the actual master's programs, if we're talking about those to begin with, there are two different sorts of course within that. Now, some of them are professional qualifications, and so that may give you particular status. It may allow you to do a particular job. So, for example, in the UK, if you wanted to teach at undergraduate, at school level, either the sort of very young students, or if maybe you wanted to teach at secondary school level, then you could do something called a PGCE. If you wanted to do something like counselling and psychology, again, the courses that we have may enable you to become that sort of professional in that industry. The LPC and the BPTC, these are specifically law programs. So if you wanted maybe to practice as a lawyer or a barrister, a solicitor, something like that, those may be courses that you could look at. But we also have things called conversion courses. Now, these courses are master's programs that you can join where you don't have to have an undergraduate course in that area already, in that field or subject area. So, for example, if you wanted to do a master's in engineering, depending on the engineering program, you may well already need to have an undergraduate degree in that area. However, if you wanted maybe to join an LLM, a master's in law, or the GDL, the graduate diploma in law, or if you wanted to do something like a business course, you wouldn't necessarily have to have an undergraduate degree in that subject area, because you would be taught everything you needed to know on that course. So this is why we call them conversion masters. So it could be that you've done an undergraduate, say in engineering, and you want to change your field, you want to move into management, then you could do a business master's. So lots and lots of choice out there depending on, you know, what is right for you. So if we could move to the next slide, please. Great. So before you make an application, and obviously you're already thinking about this, there's several things for you to consider. So, you know, why do you want to do a master's? Why, what benefits will it have for you? Is it that professional body accreditation? Is it that you want to change career? Will it help you to get a better job or help you to get a different job in a different area? Think about also the skills that you'll develop as part of doing that course. If you've already done, or you're at the moment studying at undergraduate level, at bachelor's level, you're already developing skills that are not necessarily to do with your subject area, but what we call transferable skills. Think about the other skills that you may develop within a postgraduate course. And think about, is there anything else that you need to do alongside your study? So lots and lots of things for you to think about. And hopefully this presentation will help you to decide which master's is right for you. So if we could move on to the next slide, please. So there's lots of different ways of finding out about the courses. So if you go on to our website, so it's the University of the West of England, so uwe.ac.uk, you'll see a search function, and you could search by subject area. You may already know the specific name of the course you want to do, but if you search for subject area, you get lots more detailed information. You could also potentially see the facilities that we have, some of the headline sort of statistics about the course, why it's good, what's our research like in that area. The facilities, you'll get information on what some students have done maybe, you'll be able to see videos, all sorts of things like that. So it's a good idea to search for the wider subject area. You may also see that there are subjects you've not thought about, and you may be thinking, I want to do computing. You may look at our Department of Computing and then see, actually, look, they do a course that I hadn't thought about before, because you may not necessarily think of the sort of the actual name of that course. So it's a good thing to look at to see the range of programs that are available. You can, of course, search by a specific course, and you can search by, we have an A to Z listing. If you look at the A to Z listing, you'll get all of our courses. So from undergraduate level, our integrated master's programs, our master's level programs. You may also see some of our professional courses as well. But if you look at the left-hand side of our screen, you can filter just by postgraduate courses. So you can just look at what we're offering at postgraduate level. One thing you won't see there, so if you are looking for perhaps PhD study, so a doctorate, you won't see those listed. Now that's because a PhD isn't an off-the-shelf product. It is something that is very, very individual to you as a student, as a potential student, And it's done very much on the basis of the research proposal that any student submits, and whether or not we have that expertise and capability to supervise someone to that level. So you won't see a PhD there as an off-the-shelf product. You know, you can do a PhD in business, a PhD in whatever the subject may be. If any of you out there who are listening and watching this presentation are interested in PhD study, please do email in or send us a message, and we can give you further details on how you go about applying for those courses. So once you look at those courses, what are the kinds of things that you need to be looking for? So what we've done on our website is we've made sure that all of the programs are laid out in the same way. So you get some more detailed information. And if you look at the course, you'll see on the right-hand side of the page, you can filter by the structure of the course. So this is where you see the actual modules that you would study. There will be something called special features or features, where you could see anything that is very unique to that program. Could it be our links with industry? Could it be integrated work placements that you may do? Could it be field trips? All of those kinds of things will be listed there, so you can do much more research and get much more information on those courses. So have a look at what the detail is of the program, especially in areas where we may have lots of choice, so you can see which one really is the course that you particularly want to study. And again, if you need any advice, then you can talk to my colleagues at Kastu, and they can give you much more detailed information as well. Or you can also contact me and we can give you that information, or indeed put you in touch with the program leaders who can give you much more detailed information of the actual content. So if we could move to the next slide, please. Great. So if you think back to your undergraduate degree and how you may have chosen that program, think of the things that influenced how you chose what you wanted to do and where you studied. So was it to do with entry requirements? Was it to do with the balance between, is there lots and lots of examinations? Is it coursework? Did you think about career requirements, professional body accreditation, which may be important if you want to practice in an industry? Could it be where students went on to do further study, they went on to work? All of those things that are listed on this slide. Is it the location, the content, the links with employers, and all the stuff you get to do around your course and outside your course? Because we know it's not just about studying, it's also about all the fun stuff that you get to do too. So some or have influenced your choice of undergraduate program. And you may find that some of those things are also going to influence how you choose your postgraduate program too. So if we could move to the next slide, please. So again, as I say, many of those previous factors will link to the postgraduate study. But are there things that may be different? Do you have different facilities, for example, as a postgraduate student? Do you get access to more enhanced activities, maybe different resources? Maybe it's because of particular teachers on the course, their research interests and how that feeds into the course. Is it the reputation for research that certain programs have? Or have you heard of someone? Have you read a book that's written by someone and you go, wow, look, they're a lecturer at UWE and they lecture on this program. Has that influenced your choice? Could it be, as I say, the publication? Could it be the fees, the costs of studying, also the cost of living in a particular area? Also think about things like financial support. You may know that students from the EU have access to a postgraduate loan now, similar to the undergraduate loan, which you may be familiar with. There is now a postgraduate loan for students who come to study in England to study their master's program. Again, there is more information that you can obtain from Kastu or from ourselves on our website as to how that works. As an EU student as well, you are able, if you wish to, maybe study at a part-time route rather than a full-time route of study. So again, think about all of those things when you're choosing a program and do some further research. So if we could move to the next slide, please. So how do you apply? Well, there's an online form that Kastu have, and they have two different versions, one for the Lithuanian students and one for the Polish applicants as well. And those would be forwarded to us at the university. we have all of the information we need, so what you're currently studying, because as I've indicated earlier, and if you look on our course pages on the website, if you look at the entry requirements tab, that's where we will be very specific as to what we require from your undergraduate program. So if you wanted to study, for example, an engineering master's, we would need an undergraduate course that has engineering content. If you wanted, for example, to study a PGCE, so a postgraduate certificate of education, and potentially teach, then we would list all of our entry requirements there, which would include things like a relevant degree. So if you want to teach mathematics, you would need a degree with at least 50% in that subject area. There are also potentially extra entry requirements for some of those courses. So for example, a teaching qualification, you would need some experience of teaching, some observational experience maybe, and there may be other requirements that we have. For some programs, it may be a portfolio. For other programs, it may be a higher level of English language, depending what it is you're applying for. So again, have a think about that, have a, and do some research before you apply. Some programs, the application would then be forwarded to certain other bodies. So for example, professional law programs, they have a slightly different method of applying and different things that you have to go through before the application comes to the university. But that would all be worked out for you. And obviously, there's plenty of advice available depending on what it is that you may be wanting to study. So next slide, please. So the important thing to think about when making an application to a university is your personal statement. And yes, we do read them. People say, oh, no, you don't read them. Yes, we do. And that can make a decision between whether or not we are able to offer a place on one of our programs. So think about why you're applying. What is it that motivates you to study that particular program? What are your career goals? What is it you're interested in academically? Are you applying because it's just, personal development? That's absolutely fantastic. You want to do a course just because you're interested in it. Absolutely brilliant. And highlight to us why you want to apply for this particular course. Is it the academic tutor? Is it some of the opportunities that you get as part of the course? Is it a particular module that you want to do? Evidence your experience, both academic and non-academic. We're looking for those skills which are going to enable you to successfully manage postgraduate study. I've done it myself, and I know how hard it is to kind of juggle the amount of work that you have to do. And think about the sort of preparation that you yourself have done, which sort of readies you for postgraduate study. So do your current or recent studies, have they prepared you for that particular course? If you're looking at a course that offers you the chance to do some taught modules and then to submit a dissertation, have you already done a dissertation at undergraduate level that will show that you have those skills in doing the reading, doing the research, distilling that research, and coming out with an individual project at the end of the day? Independent study, maybe where you're currently studying or where you've studied before has a very different system to maybe what may be on offer in the UK. So do some research. Again, on our website, we have lots of advice and lots of information there about what postgraduate study is like in the UK, because it may be different to what you're used to currently. And are there any other additional skills? Have you done some work experience, maybe as part of your current course, or maybe just something you've done, you've had the get up and go to go and organize these things, and that have provided you with those additional skills. Also talk about your goals, demonstrate you've thought about why you want to do this particular course. It could be short-term goals, it could be your long-term career ambitions, but do tell us about that and give us some examples that really illustrate and really bring to life who you are as a potential student on the course, because that is what the tutors are interested in. They want to know the kind of makeup of the students that may be studying. So if we could go to the next slide. So when doing your personal statement, and especially if you also have to do a portfolio as well, my advice to you is make sure it's relevant. Plenty of time to do it, and do lots of drafts. Don't think, gosh, I've got 10 minutes to do this. I'll do a really, really quick one and I'll just submit it. You know, do think about it. Do tailor it to the course you're applying for and to the university as well. If you've looked at the entry requirements and there are specific things that we're asking for, make sure you evidence that. If it's not maybe obvious from your current qualifications, then do, you know, make sure that we know that you've read the selection criteria and that you meet those things that we're asking for, especially if it's something like work experience. If you're given a word limit within the application form, please stick to it, because you might end up halfway through a sentence and then it disappears and we don't get the relevant information. And this is why we say to give yourself the time to prepare your statement, revise it, you know, write it, leave it for a couple of days, go back to it. You know, when you look at it on another day, it may, you know, come across as completely different to you and you think, I must revise that. I want to, you know, get another idea across. But do show you've done your research, you know what the course offers, and that you're aware of, you know, what postgraduate study entails. You know, there is the taught element to it, but there's also a lot of, you know, reading and research that you'll have to do, and give us examples of how, you know, why you think you'll be able to manage this, you know, successfully. You know, be really positive about why you're wanting to do this, and very specific, you know, not rambling off and talking about lots of other things, because, you know, that ability to be succinct and to condense down everything you're trying to say is obviously demonstrating us a useful skill already. So next slide, please. So excuse me. So one of the ways of looking at this is a little mnemonic that will help you to ensure that you've covered all of the elements and show that you are a star. So think of the situation. What was the context of what you've done and why you're applying for this course? You know, is it your current studies that are going to lead into this program? Is it work placements that you've done? We have something here called a PAL scheme, so a peer assisted learner. Have you been involved in something like that? So helping other students. Have you taken part in sports, societies, committees, all sorts of things? Think of tasks that you had to do. What did you need to do or achieve? You know, was it meeting those deadlines, making sure everything was submitted on time? Did you do a placement and you had to do specific activity within that placement? And think of the actions you had to do. You know, how did you complete that task or achieve your goal within those parameters, those limits that you were set, and how does that illustrate how you would perform on a master's program? And what was the result? What was the outcome? You know, if you had a specific assignment to do and you had particular difficulties with getting the research material, whatever it may be, but you got 78% on that assignment, you know, tell us about that. Tell us about what you do differently next time, maybe, you know, and think, oh, well, maybe next time I'd look at it from a different angle. So, you know, think of the STAR way of producing your personal statement and how that might provide a better personal statement, a sort of context for it and a framework for that personal statement. Next slide, please. Another way of thinking about it is to do the elevator pitch. You may well have a telephone call, for example, from a tutor. You may well have an interview as part of the selection procedure. Again, it does depend on the course. So imagine the admissions tutor for your chosen postgraduate course just stepped into a lift with you. You've got 30 seconds to persuade them you're the right person for their course. So why do you choose the course? What skills do you have? Give them examples. Have you yourself got any unique selling points like relevant experience? And what do you hope to gain from completing the course? So use that as a useful little exercise. You know, 30 seconds, what would you say? And use that maybe as the basis, you know, the starting point for a successful personal statement. Next slide. I think that's the end slide, actually. Yes, I think it is. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what to do when you're applying for a course. Certainly have a look at our range of programs on our website. So anything from engineering, we have biomedical science, there's lots of arts programs, And I know I'm going to talk to some students later. Some of you have already told us your specific interests. So hopefully that's given you a flavour. If you have any specific questions, it's now over to you, and I'm here to hopefully answer them all. If not, I can always do a bit of research and get back to you later.
All right, so thank you for the presentation, for the slides that you show for our webinar participants. And now we're finally gonna move to a questions and answers part. So we kind of have quite a lot of questions coming out from the webinar participants. So please be prepared to answer all the questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
And I will start with the first one. So the student is interested in information technology. If your university is good in that, and maybe you have some kind of statistics, rankings about that.
Okay, so we tend not to have, the rankings and statistics tend to be more focused towards the undergraduate programs. So this is why I suggested when we first had a look at the courses, that if you search for courses by subject, so I'm just doing this on a computer which is right beside me. So I've searched for courses by subject and gone into computing, and you can see lots of different statistics. Now, the surveys that we tend to submit our statistics for tend to be more sort of undergraduate level. But to let you know, we've got so in the whole computing department, 92% of graduates in work or further study 6 months after graduation. This is from the HESA survey of 2016. We have things like 100% student satisfaction on this is the bachelor program for Information Technology Management for Business, and this is in the National Student Survey. So every year we do a survey of our students to get their opinion on the university in general, the courses, the feedback they get on courses, all of those kinds of things. We also have some information there, and again, there's lots of links to click on and find more detail. And it says employment for computing professionals is forecast to grow at almost twice the UK average through to 2020. So that indicates that there's good prospects in the industry as a whole. You also get more information on placements, the employer links that we have. Often the employers are also feeding into our programs, and they're determining, you know, what we actually teach on the programs, because they're telling us this is what we need from a graduate at the end of the day. So lots more research on our website.
All right, thank you for the answer. And we will move to the second question, and to a question regarding accommodation.
Yes.
How much does accommodation cost?
Okay. Now, we have just released our accommodation rents for 2017-18 academic year. And just to let you know, if you apply for a program at UWE and we make you an offer and you firmly accept that offer, those applicants will be the first to know when accommodation opens for application, and that's usually in towards the end of March, beginning of April each year. We invite students to apply, and they can apply when they're holding a conditional offer. You don't need to wait until you've met all the conditions, and we will guarantee accommodation for the first year as long as students apply by the accommodation deadline, which is normally in June. Now, the rents vary, and again, depending on which program you're studying will depend on which campus you're based. And we have accommodation on campus. We also have accommodation in our city centre, and the rents vary. So just as an example, city centre accommodation so this is the annual rent. This includes things like heating, so gas, electricity. It includes internet access and things like that. So £6,385 per year. We have studio apartments, which are more expensive, so £7,529 per year. We also have cheaper accommodation, so we're using a property in the city centre, which is £5,757 per year. The accommodation on campus, again, there is a range depending on budgets and those kinds of things, and also the facilities and size of the room that you have. So our standard student village accommodation, £5,806. We do have some shared rooms on campus, not many of them, and they're very, very popular. Those are about £3,814 per year. All of that is available on the website called a summary of UE properties, so you can see what's available. And they do change slightly each year, but those have just been published. If anybody wants to email in, I can send the link and you can do a bit more research and see what is and isn't included in those rents.
All right, great. Moving on, we have one more question. Is it difficult to find work in Bristol? And where students usually do work?
Okay, so they work in a variety of jobs. We have a job shop at the university, so students get a UE email address and you can register with the university job shop and they will send around vacancies. So that could be part-time work during term time, it could be internships, it could be stuff during the holiday periods. Again, it does vary. We are a big city. We have 2 universities here. We are also a tourist destination as well. So there are lots of theatres, bars, restaurants, nightclubs, museums, shops, shopping paradise, lots and lots of shopping centres. So there's lots of opportunities for part-time work, and that's often where students will work because they can fit it around their studies. So another thing to point out is that when you're studying, you are not necessarily in class all day, every day. You may have a free morning, a free afternoon. You may even have days where there's no teaching at all. Obviously, you've got your homework and your research to do, but that's often how students fit the part-time working around. So we also, as a university, employ students. So once you've been here for a little while, students can, with training, become student ambassadors. So if we have fairs or events that we're running, our graduation ceremonies, we have an airport pickup and activities at the beginning of each year. We employ students to help us staff those events and they are paid for that work. Also becoming something like a PAL leader, a peer assisted learning leader, that also has some payment attached to it as well. So there are opportunities for work. We also have global pals, so they do all sorts of events. You know, we take students to famous landmarks or famous other cities to go and see what there is. So obviously we take students to London, they do trips to Bath, places like Stonehenge. So there are opportunities for students to earn money whilst they're studying, and lots and lots of students, the UK students, do that as well. When I was a student, I did it. I used to work in the library and put all the books back on the shelves that everybody had left all over all the tables. So, you know, there are opportunities for part-time work.
All right, we are moving on questions. And do you have any kind of scholarships in your university available?
Okay, so it does depend on, it can depend on program, it can also depend on nationality as well. So so sometimes there are scholarships available for particular courses. So I would suggest that you look online. For most of the European students, because you're getting the same, paying the same fees as UK students, and you have access now to a loan, then there aren't, you know, European specific scholarships. There are, however, scholarships in other areas. So, for example, we have a Sporting Excellence Scholarship in our sports centre, and they have just been in contact with me actually this week, and there is a specific scholarship they are offering, and I'm looking at my associated paperwork here on my desk. There is a specific scholarship that they have for as I say, elite sports, sporting excellence. So anyone who may be representing their country at specific sports can apply for this. There is a very specific one for the UE Jets basketball team, and they are currently recruiting student athletes for their program for the 17-18 academic year, and obviously it may change each year. Our basketball team play in the Premier South Division of the BUCS and the British equivalent of the NCAA. And that's at the highest university level in the United Kingdom. So the UE Jets also give students the potential to play for the Bristol Flyers, who are Bristol's only professional basketball team who compete in the British Basketball League. So there's all sorts of different things coming online all the time. So again, get in touch with us. We can tell you what's available at the moment. But the UE JETS one has just come through, and particularly for our Lithuanian students, I know how popular basketball is in Lithuania. So I thought, oh, I must bring that and mention that specifically to you, just to give you an idea of what there is out there.
All right. And one more question. Is there a lot of international students at your university?
Yes, we have quite a lot of students. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, we've got about 28,000 students as a whole at the university. There's, I think, about 4,000 international and EU students. Sometimes you have to be careful how if you refer to international students, sometimes that does include EU, sometimes it doesn't. So yes, I think it's about 4,000 plus if you include the international students and the EU students together. So anyone from outside the UK, effectively.
All right, thank you for your answer. Moving on, is it possible to do internship during master studies? Is it compulsory or not?
That will depend on the program. I think the internships are not necessarily compulsory. Sometimes there may be integrated work placements or integrated practical experience within the program. And students have the option maybe to do stuff during the holidays. The thing to bear in mind, which may be different to what students are used to at home, is that in the UK, a master's tends to be 1 year long. So usually around about 9 months of teaching, again, depending on the program, then you have the time to write up, to research and write up your dissertation. So it is a more sort of condensed period of study than maybe what you might be used to at home, where you may have a 2-year master's. So the internships would tend to be maybe during holidays, you know, the Easter holidays, and possibly also the summer once you're sort of coming towards graduation as well. But it does vary. So look at the program, look at the features of that program, and it will tell you, you know, what is possible.
All right. One more question. What with language test? Do you accept IELTS test?
Yes, we do. So again, it depends on the program, and we will specify this under the entry requirements tab of each course. So broadly speaking, for postgraduate programs, we would require an IELTS of 6.5 overall. Again, as I say, it's on the website. But if you're looking at some programs, they may have higher requirements. So say, for example, if you're looking at something like a counselling program or something that's maybe related to physiotherapy, nursing, health, occupational therapy, that's going to have higher entry requirements because of the nature of what you're doing. A program like journalism, so if anybody's interested in master's programs in journalism, the IELTS score there, I believe, is a 7. So there are variations. There are some programs where we may accept local qualifications from high school. There are other programs where, because of professional body accreditation, it is very specific and it has to be IELTS or one of the other acceptable English language qualifications, such as Pearson test, Cambridge tests as well, so Cambridge Advanced or Cambridge Proficiency. Again, if you go onto our website and in the search function put in English language requirements, it will bring you up a list of everything that we can accept, but you have to read it alongside the program just in case there are specific requirements for that program.
All right, and I see we have the last one question. So what about the career opportunities, and do we have any kind of partnership with the companies that would offer a placement after your studies?
Yes, possibly. So we have lots of things to tell you about, so I'm going to try and remember them all. So we have a careers service here at the university who obviously helped write that presentation, and they offer all sorts of things like, so students may be familiar with student recruitment fairs. So there's things like the Top Study Fair, Gaudiamus fairs, Lit Expo, things like that. So here at the university, we also run employer fairs. So this is where local employers, also employers like the, our Ministry of Defence, so our military, our Navy and the Army, they will come in and they will talk to prospective graduates, both undergraduate students and postgraduate students, about graduate traineeships. So big fairs that we run so students can talk to prospective employers. Our careers service won an award a couple of years ago now. They were the top university careers service, and their services are offered to students for up to 3 years after graduation. So it's not like we say to you, here's your UE degree, your UE masters, thank you very much, bye-bye. You can still use those services. They can help students who are looking for jobs or maybe wanting to change job. They do all sorts of workshops and things that you can, take part in, things like employability skills, CV writing skills, interview skills, those kinds of things. The other thing for students to know about, and you may want to do a little Google of this, is a website. We are home to something called GradLink. This is also an award-winning careers service. It's a web-based service, putting students in touch with employers who are offering jobs, not just in the UK, but worldwide as well. And we have specific grad links. We have a general GradLink UK. We also have specific grad links for particular countries, so GradLink China, GradLink India, things like that. So lots of help and support. Sorry, my voice is going now. Excuse me. Lots of help and support for students getting careers. We do have strong links with industry, as I mentioned earlier. They do feed into our courses and how we design courses and amend and improve courses all the time. You will find that we have industry experts coming in. We have a series of lectures called the Distinguished Address series, where heads of industry will come in and talk about their particular experiences, their industries and things like that. So you get to learn from experts. Our teachers as well often come from industry. They may also still be working in industry as well in their, their spare time. So you're getting input that is current, that is up to date, and that's, as a university, is what we're about, is equipping students for the skills that they need for, when they graduate and they go and get a job at the end of the day. So lots and lots of links with industry. Again, have a look on our website and you'll see all sorts of information on there as well.
All right, so thank you for the answers, and of course for your questions from participant sides.
Yes, thank you for your questions.
Yeah, I think we covered all the questions that were given from participants, and we're about to finish our webinar. And please, those people who have registered for the Skype interviews one-on-one with university representative of West England, so please don't run away somewhere. Just take a short break, 10 minutes, and come back on your time. You received all the information by email from Kastu team, so you have everything, all the details, all the Skype names. So please be on time, and I wish you the best luck on Skype interviews and get the most you can get out of those Skype interviews. And this is a great opportunity and chance to talk individually with a university representative, and I hope you will get a lot of details, a lot of information, and most important and beneficial information that will help you to make a decision to which study program apply or some kind of other things. So from my side, I'm saying goodbye. I think it was really great webinar. We get a lot of information about University of West England, and I would like to thank you for our participant representative, Lorraine. So thank you very much.
Bye.
It's a pleasure to have you in this webinar. So, all right, guys, if you have any questions, if you have problems with application form, just contact Kastu team, and we'll make sure that everything is fine, everything is clear, and your university will get your application. So that's it. I'm saying goodbye and have a good evening.